Hello and welcome to Muse Jam Session recording 179. My name is Dani Beaumont and I'm a product manager on the Adobe Muse team. To kind of shake things up a little bit this week, I put out on Facebook a request for different ideas around sites that different users wanted me to try to rebuild during this jam session. And as luck would have it with the anonymous web, most of the sites that were submitted were not very serious sites. Some were actually a little inappropriate, let's just put it that way. I did see one or two come through last night and this morning, and I'm going to go ahead and go with the one that Julian put forward, this Wood Rocks Bamboo accessory site. So the point of today's jam session is to show you that even if, let's say you have a client would like you to build out a quote-unquote update to their website, and you want the business, but you don't have a relationship with the original web designer that perhaps was a hand coder or used Dreamweaver, or perhaps your client used a tool like Wix or Squarespace to build out their site, and you want to take it over. And the client, actually, I'm going to pause for one moment to make sure that everybody on your end is muted. You might not be, but you might be. All right, so far so good. I thought I heard sounds. We'll find out. Traveling is a fun thing. As I mentioned, you may want to build out that site for the client, and you may not have the source content. So what we're going to do today is kind of different. It has some to do with Muse, but it really has a lot to do with just kind of inspecting a site and learning how it was constructed originally. So I'm going to go ahead and select the site that Julian submitted on Facebook last night, and we'll just kind of take a look around at what we see on this site. So to be really honest, this is probably a storefront site. I haven't inspected the code. It looks to me like a Squarespace site. I'm sorry, not Squarespace. A Shopify site, or well, let's go ahead and look. I'm going to go ahead and view the page source, and I'm just curious to see what it's built on. I am absolutely not a coder, so you'll quickly see how I get lost when I go in looking at code. But that's kind of what's powerful about what we're going to do today. If you are a coder and you inspect code on a routine basis, good for you. You can laugh at me a little bit. Leave us designers alone. Okay. What I wanted to mention, though, is this is a site that probably would lend itself to being built on a shopping backend. And there are ways within Muse to build out a shopping backend. So if you notice this site, I can click in on an individual tile here, and it brings up a detailed view of the product. And I believe, depending on where you're looking, if I go full product details, it has more depth. It also will show you related products and such. So this all does tend to be the type of thing you'll see from a storefront or a back-end shopping cart. In Muse, it is possible to add carts, an external cart where you carry the inventory of your content and populate that inventory into your Muse site. Let me show you that kind of quickly, just as we're just going to clarify. This is not something we're going to get into today, but I do want to show that you could build a very similar site with a back-end e-commerce solution using Muse and plugins. So if I go to, if I want to just go directly, if I go to musewidgets.com, it will take me to the place where we have a series of widgets. And if I come in and I put in e-commerce, let's just see, probably in my drop down here, select e-commerce, you'll see that there are a number of different back-end storefronts that you could use for such a solution. Ali Pordelli of cookie.com is actually with us today. He built out a free widget that drops into Muse that allows you to populate content out on Shopify. And in fact, if you go to if you go to the preview area of his widget, he'll show you this actual integration of Muse with the widget together. And there's a link here to create a Shopify store. Shopify gave us favored pricing, so it's very inexpensive. I forget offhand, but I believe it's, for $9 a month, you can build out a full back-end Shopify store that you then use this free cookie widget to integrate into your site. As I mentioned, we wouldn't go that far today. That's a little deep for an hour, but I do want you to know that it is possible to build that store out on the back end. Let's go back to the site and see a little bit more of what's here. So I've got some navigation up at the top. I've got some icons here. I've got a button in this area. And as I scroll, I can see there's some scroll effects being applied. I then come into a number of different products. So there's the popular products, and it looks like there's about 8 of them. Come to another section here with scroll effects applied. And I have 3 sets of icons and text, another scrolling section, a little bit more products. And if I were to jump over a little bit, if I decide I want to shop now, it takes me more into that store interface. The custom area here has kind of a detailed, it's just more of a custom page. We could build this page out as well. It's got a contact form. And then in the contact page, there's a full-on contact form and a map for their location. I'm going to take a quick look at chat. All right, you guys are good. I just want to make sure there's no alarm bells with the sound going on here. So there's a contact form here and such. All right, I'm going to use the remainder of this hour to build this out. So I'm going to dig in and kind of go quickly, relatively, to just show you how I might do this work. So the first thing you need to do is kind of sniff the site. And there are different ways to really look around at what's been included with the site. One tool that I like to use, it either works or it doesn't, it depends on how the site is constructed, is something called SiteSucker. It's a Macintosh tool. It allows you to basically point to a URL, and it will then crawl that entire URL, and it will download any images, any HTML, any CSS that it finds on the site into a directory. And as I mentioned, depending on how the site is structured, if it has a remote server, what's known as a CDN, to serve up images, you may not be successful with SiteSucker grabbing all those images. I did use SiteSucker. It didn't work incredibly well with this site, but what I found is that all of the images are very close to the surface or accessible. Notice if I click on this Wood Rocks logo here, if I right-click, I can open the image in a new tab. That means I can get to the image pretty easily. Depending on the site you're working with, you may have to sniff a little harder. And we'll see as we go along today if things like background images are easily found or not. But let's take it from the top. I can see that there's some navigation, home, shop, now, custom, and contact us. And depending on what's going on here, I've become more or less lazy. So I don't like to type all that much if I don't have to. So one thing I have been known to do is just press and drag on a website, copy the text, and paste it. I think I can actually type these in myself, though. So let's start at that beginning. I'm going to go ahead and jump over into Muse. And let's go ahead and close this guy out. We'll go ahead and start a new site. And we'll make this a fixed width site because we want to work with scroll effects. And I'll go ahead and go on into that first page. If I'm really building the site out well, I probably would define a master. And so we could probably go ahead and do that. This is where the kind of playing / quick work begins. So let's first add our pages. I'm going to come back in here. I'm going to go out to my site plan. I've got the home page. I'll just capitalize that since that seems to be how they like it. Next, I'm going to add a shop. So I'm just adding pages into the site. Contact us seems to be next, I guess. I thought it was in a different position up on top. We'll have to see that. About us and FAQs. All right, pretty simple, straight up. If you notice up here, there's custom and contact us. So I'm going to go ahead and add one more page, call it custom. And it's kind of a good question about how I want to approach this. We're not going to get into too much detail right now. I have to make a choice here because it has 2 different sets of navigation, which is fine. Let's just go with the top one for now. Shop now, custom, contact us. So definitely some differences here. now, custom and contact us. We'll go ahead and move about us down. That allows it to not be in the top level navigation, so it kind of does us a favor. And I'm going to move custom up into its position. And check on the I seem to have stopped sharing there. I apologize, people. Chat looks busy. Okay. Keep doing what you're doing, people. I just wanted to check on your chat. All right, so I've got my basics. I'm still recording, still sharing, which is good. And I've got my top-level navigation elements here. What I want to do now is let's go ahead and build out that master a little bit. So we're going to go back to the site, and we're going to roll on down to the bottom. I'm going to, again, do some really simple copy-paste. So I'm going to grab this text, maybe not all of that text. Let's try just this bit. Copy it. And I'm going to go into my master. I'm going to create a nice footer area. I'm going to view up my guides so that I can see them. And I'm just going to paste this guy in here. I'm almost going to start at a wireframing level. The huge investment, if you ask me, around doing a website is getting to know what the heck your client wants. If your client is not familiar with the web, learning how to ask the questions of the client so that you know that they're really deciding about how they want the site to be in a way that they're not going to change their mind on you later on as you get down the road. So I find rebuilding an existing site to be a pleasure because you know exactly what the client wants. It's already out there. Perhaps they're asking you to come in and add some customization to their existing design or change it, but you at least have a nice starting point to work with. Okay, I've obviously got terrible text and such going on, but I've got elements. There's some little social media buttons here. Chances are they're not easy to grab. So those are pretty easy to bump into. We can add those from some that I have already. They're pretty common. Let's go ahead, though, and start up at the top now. There's a logo here, Wood Rocks. I'm going to right-click on it, and I'm going to save that image as. So I'm going to save that logo. I've created a little site sucker here directory, and we've got the logo. I've already added the logo in here, but I would just go in and find that. One way to help you figure out how elements are, where they exist on the site and such, is to inspect the code. I definitely use it for things like typography. So we're going to hold off on that just a little bit. We've got our products down here. What I would do is come to each of these objects here, these preview images, and save the image out. So I'm going to save as, and we've got the emoji faces. You'll know I've already grabbed that last night when I was playing around with a little bit of this. So we grab each of those images. Also these background images, as I roll over this large image, I can come in and save it out. This guy right here, I can come and save as. So grab those. If it's not apparent where they are, what you can do is, as I mentioned, come in and inspect individual elements. So I've got Y Bamboo here. This is an image that can be easily saved. So I've saved out those as SVG illustrations. You can be a little lazy too. You can just copy an image, come over to Muse and paste it. But in theory, you want to start to organize your content in a good way. You could, in theory, paste it on the canvas here and then create a Creative Cloud library that you dragged it out into so that you had an organized area. But saving it to the disk is probably just a good way to really capture all the pieces that are out there. So having gone in and saved some of these bits out, let's start to work on just this architecture here. So I've got navigation up at the top. I've got a pretty full screen image that has a scroll effect applied to it with these overlay areas of text. So let's come on in and let's first add our navigation and our logo, and we'll add that background image as well. So I've got a pretty nasty looking footer here right now, but I'm going to go ahead and leave it alone, and I'll come into my individual page. Let's make the world a little nicer for us here and expand out this size a bit. Just make this larger. Make sure these elements are defined as footer elements so I can see that that checkbox has been checked for it. I'll move these guys down and give myself just a little bit more area. Good enough for now. And I'll come out. Now, we did notice that that Wood Rocks logo is there on the left. Let's see if it repeats across all the pages of the site. So it definitely repeats for these 3 pages, Shop Now, Custom, and Contact Us, but I think the landing page has a slightly different approach. So what I'm going to do here within Muse is we're going to call this the interior. And depending on how you're working, if the footer tends to be repeated, if you want to keep your life simple, you're going to want to structure it so that all repeated elements are pretty much in one area. There's kind of a way to do that. If I called this footer, and I then came in and created a second page that was landing, we'll call it home. Trying to name it differently than my page a bit. How about home, not homo? And then interior. So I can say, guess what, home, I want you to use that beautiful footer. And interior, I want you to use the beautiful footer as well. And additionally, I'm going to come in and add my navigation. So I go to the home page, and I want to add the nav that we've defined. So if I come into my widget library, I select menus, and go on in and grab a horizontal menu and put that on the canvas. It's got those basic attributes. Now, typographically, the site we're looking at that I've hidden away here, let's bring this guy back up. It's got a pretty minimal navigation there at the top. So I'm going to come to this nav, and I'm going to quickly go in and say clear all the styling, make it as minimal as the example that we had. And this is where life gets a little bit challenging. I know I want this navigation on my home page, but I don't want to deal with having to have white text on a white object. So I'm just going to cut it from here. I'm going to go to my home page, and I'll go ahead and paste it. And I'm going to leave it alone for now so that we can still see it. Next thing I want to do is deal with these images and the logo. So I'm going to go ahead and place my images. And I'm going to do them in a distinct way. As I mentioned, if you look at this site, you can see that it's moving at a different speed of scroll than the rest of the content below it. So to emulate that behavior, I'm going to come in and create a container. I'm going to make sure that container is full width, so stretch to browser width. I'm going to select under fill to add an image. And as I mentioned, I pulled down these images yesterday. There's the slideshow 1, slideshow 3. I'm not sure what happened in number 2, but there's 3 slideshows as they put it. I'm going to actually select that slideshow, make sure it's set to scale to fill my container. And in this instance, it's a pretty tall page. Notice that when I resize it, things are getting off-center. That's because I need to set this positioning pin to the center. That'll keep my content centered there well. So scale to fill, that's all really good. To get that sort of different speed of scroll behavior, I'm going to select this object, and in the fill drop-down, switch over to the scroll tab, select scroll motion, and I'm going to set it at 0.5 times the speed of scroll and 0 everything else out. So usually 0.8 is the trick, but it seems like 0.5, it's moving pretty darn slow. So I've got that set. The next thing I want to do is go ahead and bring in our logo. So we've got logo home. Click and release to place that. Now I believe this might be an SVG. If I resize it and then release, it's not. Looks like it's a PNG. It's resolution dependent. But it was looking pretty good. At a larger size, I can scale it down until it seems about right. And I'm going to position that in the corner of my page and pin it. Our navigation escapes me now. It's layered there in the back, so I'm going to come on in and bring it to the front. Maybe. Are you going to be kind to me? Never know what the demo gods are going to do to you each day. So with this menu now selected, we'll go ahead and at least make the text white so that we can keep an eye on it. And we'll bring it to the layered to the top. So arrange, bring to the front, and I will move this guy back to the back. And why don't I move it to the back so that my logo comes forward? Send to back. All right, so we got some basics in place there. We know that as the objects, as the screen scrolls, this stays behind sort of a white container, it seems. So I'm going to come on in and draw a container, and I'll make sure that it's, again, full width. And I'm going to give it a white fill. And I'm not going to apply any scroll effect to it because this is going to be the contrast. This is going to move at the speed of normal scroll, basically. And I'll just kind of place it here as a good guess. And let's go ahead and flesh out the rest of the page because we know how it's going to behave. There's a white container that moves here. Then we get the next image, another white container, next image, another white container, and then our footer. So knowing that, let's grab these two objects. And I'm just going to press and drag them down to duplicate them, holding the Option key and the Shift key so that they stay aligned. I'm going to zoom out just a little bit and do that one more time. This is just fast, lazy design. Having done that, I'm going to select that second container, and I'm going to go grab, let's say, slideshow 3. Seems like a good guess. Of course, because I'm staying in a hotel, the staff is vacuuming outside my door because you never know what's going to happen. Don't mind our cleanup noise. Okay, I now have 3 containers defined, and I've got my 3 images. Best thing about Muse that I just love is if you're not sure what's going on, you don't have to wait very hard to figure it out. Pull down on File to preview the page in the browser. Muse is going to render that content. All right, so as I'm moving, I see my navigation is moving, which is not good. I probably want that to stay around. I have to double check. Notice that the image is moving slower, and I have this white area where I can add content. Below that, I get my next image, white content, my next image, and my very sexy footer. So we're getting there. Not bad for just a few minutes work. Let's jump back and keep looking at what we've got. So we go back home on this site here. We got a Shop Now button. We've got these 3 elements. We've got some links and such. Logo's a little smaller. These are all nuances. So as I'm working now, I'm going to want to start to figure out what's going on typographically here as well. And for that, I am going to use a code inspector. So if I come to an object here and right-click on it in Chrome, I can select Inspect. Firefox has something called Firebug. I find that Firebug will sniff out images that are kind of deeply buried in a site better than Chrome can do, so I jump between browsers. As I mentioned, if I knew what I was doing, I probably would be just fine in Chrome. But I don't, so I'm going to come in and inspect that text. And I can see here on the left is details about the code. I want to make sure I'm still on that Shop Now. But on the right-hand side, as I roll down, I can see the font. So it's Josephine Sands at 16 points. While we're here, let's look around a little bit more. There's Shop Now. And Shop Now is also Josephine Sand, 20 points. And I'm going to scroll down a little bit more. Most popular looks to be a different font. Let's inspect that. And that is, let's see. Like I said, you got to poke around a little, and I might have missed it up on the top. I'm going to grab another instance here. Let's try this guy. Be kind to me. All right. A hush came over the crowd. So we know we've got Josephine. I have seen this in here. Let me just look a little bit more. Not any of this. I think it's this guy right here. Let's try that. Come on. Sometimes you'll see, because that's also Josephine. There was another one that we'll find in a minute. Okay, somebody sniffed the site faster than me. Open Sans, it's said to be. It could be. I'm going to take a note. There's another one, I think it's called Ajax or something. So we've got Open Sans and Josephine. I want to sniff for that other font because it's bugging me. Let's see here. All right, let's just keep going. Doesn't matter yet because we don't have a lot of time. Got to build this whole site. Okay. So let's just start. We know that this headline is Josephine. So I'm going to swing over into Muse. Josephine happens to be, I think it's a Google web font. If I come to add and remove web fonts, I can punch it in real quick. J-O-S, Josephine, I believe. And Typekit has Josephine. Edge web fonts have them as well, but I think I want the good old plain Josephine. So I'm going to check that and click OK to add it into my Muse project. I can come in now, select my headline. Typekit in Muse have basically looked for that font and downloaded it. If the world is good and I actually did it, let's just see. Josephine Light. Looks like that's about right. I think they said it was about 16 points, so I can punch 16 in here. And I could just resize my navigation if I need to move it in a little bit. Looks like my spacing is a little funny. Let's see if that's set to uniform spacing. So the difference there, I'm not doing buttons. I want equal space between each of my navigation elements. Now, we're looking better, I believe. If I jump back over to the live site, as I recall, oops, unless I close it out, let's just do this and close out Facebook. As I scroll, everything is moving off the screen, so I don't need to pin anything there towards the top. I'm going to come back and make this logo a little smaller, and I'm not going to pin it. So if I uncheck it and we swing back out and preview my site in the browser, we're looking pretty good. So we've got our logo, we've got our image. I'm going to keep jumping along because, again, this point of this jam is not for me to build a finished, beautiful site. It's to let you know how you could build an existing site quickly, the tools to inspect and figure things out. So I kind of want to keep things moving rather fast. I am going to come in and drop a shop button in. It's pretty simple. I'm really lazy about colors. There's a better way to do it than this, but I'm going to come on in and use a screen grab app. And I'm just going to incredibly lazily grab the green here. And I'm just going to copy it on the clipboard. I probably could pick up on the green of the logo that's there as well. I'm going to come back into Muse, and I'm just going to paste it because it really was lazy button formation. I'll come in and select the word shop that I typed in. We'll go ahead and make it shop now. This is also a great way if you're being lazy and trying to match an existing site. It's a lot easier to sort of grab the pieces you need, bring it onto your design canvas, just using it for reference. I'm going to delete it in just a second. But I'll come on in. I'm going to stick with Josephine for this guy. Looks a little on the light side, but might have been a heavier weight. But I'm not going to obsess about it right now. I will come in and give it a little bit of padding. We'll just put some spacing all around these guys. I'm going to hit escape so I'm at the container level there, and I'll apply, let's say, 15 pixels on each side. And it's not a rounded corner button at all for them. I'll come in and center the content, make it a little wider. Change my text to be white. And I'll hit escape so that I can come in and apply the color that I'm just going to steal from, whoops, unless you do it wrong, Dani. Let's try that again. Grab this guy. There's my fill color. No, it's not. I want to get out of the text tool and just have the selection tool, this guy right here. Now I can come in, fill. I'm going to use my eyedropper and just steal the color there. I could add this as a known color into my swatches panel so that it's there and available. I can now delete my reference point. Button's looking pretty good. I think it also has a bit of a scroll effect applied. No, it doesn't. It's moving at the speed of scroll. And if I roll over it, I can see it's taking me to a collections page. So we haven't built out that page yet. I'm just going to leave this guy be a little bit. And let's move down on the page. Now we know we want to add our products here. They're like featured products bits. So I'm going to select that which is below this area and bring it down. Grab my little white container and move it up a little bit. Now we have this container because of the scroll effects, because we want this area to layer on top of the one that's there. Going back to our live site, we've got text here, right? We're going to be lazy. Most popular, we're going to come on in here, just paste it in to this section, make it a little bigger. Let's see, move it in the wrong place. Okie doke. Let's see. So I'll move this guy into position, and it's funny what it's doing to me. Let's try this one more time. Get that there, and I'll come and take a look at what I've gotten by zooming in a little bit. And I'll center this object. Now we know this one's probably the Josephine Sands font still, so I'm going to just assume that to be true. I'll come in and select Josephine Light and make it a little larger. Now, if there were things like kerning or spacing between the letters, I could see that, or something known as tracking. I can see that in the CSS code as I sort of inspected the text a little more closely. But I've got that text there. I could do a little line if I want to be pretty exacting. Everyone knows there's no line tool in Muse, but you could come on in and create a very, very small container that you fill with black. And that container can be, let's see, 4 pixels in height. Looks like the length is pretty good. And I'll move that guy in line with my other object. So I'll come in and select my alignment area. And I'm just going to center that and drag it until it's towards the center of the container. Now that looks a little bit of a thick line, but you got the point. Let's go back to our live site. We've got images here. I'm going to be very literal about it. I'm just going to come on in and say copy this image. As I mentioned, I could also say, you know, open it up in a new browser, or actually come in and save the image. I would, if I were really doing this, I would save it to a folder. But we're going to work quickly now and just show how you can do things really fast. So when I paste it, it's awfully large, but I can come in and resize it. Muse by default does proportionate resizing, so I don't need to hold a shift key. But I'll come in and try to figure out a good size. And again, depending on how you're working, I'm kind of lazy, so I would come in and grab a screenshot. Let me configure this for a moment. I would come in and grab a screenshot just to get a sense of my proportion here as a point of reference. This can be any screen capture tool. You can do the one that's built into, you know, Apple's OS. But it's a good way to sort of guess on sizing. Depending on the screen capture program you're using, it may or may not work to scale for you. But I'm just going to come in and paste the guy. And let's just see. I'll come in and paste that guy again. And I'm going to try to just resize it to something similar. So I can see the dimensions are about 275, let's say. So 275 by 275. And I can delete that so it's not in my way. If I do want to be a little bit consistent yet lazy, I can come in and if you grab any of these containers, if you double click on the container to get inside the mask and hit delete, it gives you kind of an empty container to work with. So I'm going to go ahead and show my guide so I can see what I'm doing here. Actually, let's just do it this way. I'm going to dupe this guy. I think we've got a total of 4 across. So I'll dupe it twice. I'm going to even lock this white container so it doesn't get in my way. Where is that white container? This guy. Might have lost that white container in my work here. We'll bring it back by stealing one from below and moving it up into this area, and I'll grow it. I'm going to grab these 2 guys and do 2 more. Now I started with a site that was about, I think it's about 1200 in size. I could come in to site properties here. Let's go ahead and grow this out. We'll make it about a 1400 width site. And if I come back and look at my properties here, make sure that that propagated to my masters. Seems like it did. So I'm at a nice 1400 size now. Just gives me a little bit more room to work in. I'm going to take these images that I define and make sure that they're still stretching to full browser width. So I might remind them what that browser width is again. And I'll move my navigation over a little further. So now I've got these 4 objects. I can go ahead and place them. If I want to place them evenly, I'll create a gap between them without grabbing that background by accident, which needs to be made bid 2. Got it. So with these 4 objects, in the alignment panel, I'm going to distribute them evenly, just to kind of get things going a little bit there. And let's go back to our live site. I'm going to just grab some text. So without taking too much, we're clicking somewhere inappropriate there. I'm just going to press and drag. Let's see, these are links, so you got to be pretty careful about it. I might just have to type it. I know, be shocking, but let's try just a little bit more. All right. Bamboo emoji stud earrings. Let's see if I can get it right. And come on into this area. And I'm also going to look, it seems like this is a different font. Let's go ahead and inspect it and see what's going on while we're here. Grab just the guy that I want. And we'll take a quick glance. All right, if it's probably, I believe this is inheriting an overriding style. So I'm going to stick with Josephine for this guy too. Let's see if just copy does me any good. I am still being lazy. That was pretty good. Okay, I got my text there. And I'm going to go ahead and place the text. I think it's centered. Only need it once, so I'll delete the second instance. Okay. And as I mentioned, some of this I just want to show you methodology rather than full execution. So I'm going to use some of this just for position only for now. If I wanted to continue to play with the images, I can come in and grab the next image and say copy that image and come in here. And clicking on this container, I can say paste. Let's just see. I don't really want it to be a background image. We've set it as a foreground image. So let's go do it a little bit old-fashioned. I'm going to copy the image and going to paste it in. We know that we set those at about 275 in dimension. So I'll match that. And I'm just going to move the first object out of the way. And I'll put the second one in position, and using my smart guides, I can align it pretty well. All right, kind of quick, but we grabbed some of those elements. Now, one might say, hey, Dani, you're stealing everything from the web. Shouldn't I be worried about resolution? Is there going to be degradation? If there's an existing website, usually the images have been optimized for the web for that site. So yeah, it would help if you had a higher res version of many of these images. But for example, this background image, because it has to be full browser width, it's probably a rather large size to start with, because the original designer knew that it could be resized to a higher res browser, a very large browser. So quite often when you're grabbing images for the web, that's what you need for the web. If it's a good site that you're working with to begin with, it's not necessarily required that you have the high res content. I'm going to come on in, grab the next chunk of text, copy that. I know I keep looking for fonts and not finding them, but what's this guy? Swing on up to the top. Again, I have to, this is Josephine saying it's 60 points. So I'll come back into Muse. I'm going to swing down to that lower area. And although this is a gap, where I have that scroll effect applied, I don't want to apply scroll effect here. I I want to just put plain old text because I want it to scroll in the same way. Again, depending on how lazy you're feeling or how close you want to match the site, grab a screenshot of the text so that you can look at it side by side if you'd like. I'm not going to take the time for it right now, but I'll get some of this bulk stuff, and I will swing back and look. So made to last is awfully big. I think we said 60 points. And it's that Josephine font, so I'll switch over to Josephine. May not be Josephine Light, I'll tell you that much. It looks like a heavier weight, so there's merit to digging into this font and seeing if there are additional weights that we would need for this site. We're going to leave it alone for now and center this text. Looks like this could be a little bit bigger too. And do a smaller space there. And then I'm just going to steal my button from up above, Shop Now, come and copy that, and bring one down here into this area. Okay, that says watch video, so we will just change the text on this. And let's see how we're doing. I'm going to come on in and preview my page. So previewing it from Muse, we've got our logo, we've got our nav up here in the corner, we've got Shop Now. As we scroll, things are looking pretty good. Got most popular with a much too heavy line. I've got site description or product descriptions here that could be different if we felt like it. We've got the made to last section. Let's keep going and see what else we've got on the site that we want to grab from this page. All right, we've got chunks of text. We know I love to copy and paste text. And we've got some graphics that are here. Again, very simple. Why Bamboo, custom designs, and made in Florida. I grabbed these earlier, so I'm just going to say File Place. And I'm going to go grab, in my images area here, I could probably see, I named them in a way I could find them. So you've got illustration feature 1, 2, and 3. I'm going to open those, and I'm just going to press and drag until it starts to be the size I think I want. Now, interestingly enough, I think these are SVG content, maybe not, maybe these are also PNG. When I select it and it says image frame, it would say SVG if it was SVG. But it's kind of interesting that they have such large containers. It makes it a little easier for me to space these guys out evenly. So with these 3 objects, you know, I can also, for my design, if I hold the Option key or the Command key, I believe, I can trim off some of the sides of this image because I know it's not needed on a white background. Let's go ahead and make that a full width background again. So I've got these objects in place. I'm going to zoom out a little bit. I think I want to get rid of that for now. Move this guy down a little lower, give myself a little bit more space. And we're going to do a quick text copy paste here. Come on in and copy. I'll paste that into position here. Do it a second time. Copy it. Didn't I move you? Are you not listening, you silly piece of text? We'll grab this next one. Copy it. See? It's not my imagination. And paste it. Got a little bit of words. Now I'm going to take a different approach. If you notice the text, it does look like they're using Josephine, but they are actually spacing it out down here. So once again, come on in, I can inspect. It's like I don't know that I should stop trying to do this, but notice that I can see the font size. I can see padding that's applied here. It's Josephine Sans. Letter spacing 6 pixels. So if you want to be really precise, the answers to the questions are all right here. So it's Josephine Sans, and it's 22 pixels, and it's a 1.5 M for line height, so 150% line height, but they're single line, so it doesn't matter. So if I come on in and I'm just going to grab one of them, Why Bamboo, copy it. I'll bring it back and paste it. And in this area, I'm going to swing on in here. And again, it's Josephine. So I select Josephine under text. I just go to my text panel and select Josephine in the drop down. I think we said it was 22 points, and it had spacing here of six pixels, or 6 points. All right, got my little Y bamboo. Looks like there's some action in the chat, so I'm going to come in and see if you people are happy. Anything that I need to, I know poor Prince Ali can't rename himself, so he has to remain Prince Ali. Okay. Y'all are looking good. Bamboo is misspelled. How would I do that? I only copy pasted. I don't know. We lost a little boo. Oh, you know, it all depends on what you're doing. If your client wants to misspell bamboo and wants you to reproduce their website, the question is, do we fix the typo? I don't know. I would be compelled to do so. So yeah, we're going to fix it. Is that how you spell bamboo? Okay. Haha. See, not only can you build their site in Muse, you can improve it. Already we're going to do a service for those of us that do not spell very well to make us safe for the world. All right, I'm just coming in now that I've typeset this. Actually, let me do it a little bit better. I'm going to come to this bit. I'm going to copy it, paste it. I'm going to basically select it and make it centered. So then when I come in and duplicate, I've got a good starting set. All I need to do now is borrow my words, custom design, and paste them without spaces, and made in Florida, the land of goodness. All right, grab these 3 text boxes. I'm going to come align them quickly, distribute them evenly, move them up into position, show you some other tricks if I want to move them around a little bit. Holding different keys like the command key or control key will allow you to either reduce space between objects. See how I'm doing that? I can also come in and holding another key. If I undo that bit, let's try these guys. And now when I stretch them back out, I'm making the containers a little larger. Go back to that control key, and I can, command key. I can stretch out the overall container without reducing the space between those objects. All right, these are just centered bits of text. I'm going to select all 3, and I'm going to center them. We'll let this be Josephine because we can't obsess about typography all day long. It's probably not the one, but it will do. Definitely not the one. All right, let's just take a glance. Inspecting this bit of text. Yeah, we're going to hold off because we've got about 10 minutes left. So with this bit set, we're pretty well down on that page. Got more text. You already know how we're going to copy and paste this. I would honestly just steal it from the site and then replace the text. I have more objects down here in the footer area. Let's go ahead and fill this guy out a little bit more. We've got our footer content. Let's come on in and add that. And then let's add a contact form. So I'm going to come out here to my master, and I do want to bring in another menu. I'm going to steal the menu we put up at the top here because it's a good starting point, and come on into my master, and I'll paste it in. We know that it's white, so I'm going to change that text to black so I can see what the heck I'm doing. And for now, we're going to go ahead and use this one. I could come in and create a custom menu where I would come in and type in those different navigation elements that are there, but I'm going to leave it here just for time's sake. As I mentioned, there's a contact form here that we're going to pick up on, so I'll just go into my widget library, into the forms area, grab a simple contact form. I'm a big fan of the lazy, but we'll take a look. It's enter your email address and sign up. Pretty simple. So under email there, I'm going to delete the fields I don't need. Basically just this one, and I'll enter a default value. I can even get rid of the label if it's not required on there, no label. So I'll delete that. And I'm going to change this to say sign up. And I'm going to go ahead and hit escape. I'm going to fill it with that lovely, beautiful color green. And we'll go ahead and let the text, I believe, is white in that area. So a very simple form. I could continue to come in and style out the form, but that's really a matter of playing with the different fonts and colors that are being used in it. Grab these little hidden form messages and get them out of my way to reduce the size of my container, and bring this guy down a little bit, bring this guy up a little bit. It's a little crowded, but I'm paying attention to time somewhat. All right, so I got that master set. I'm going to jump out to chat and see what y'all are thinking here. Okay, Ollie's just doing his job. All right, we're down to the last about 5 minutes of the session. Is there anything I can answer that we sort of breathe through there? I think in summary, though, what you want to do when you're starting with a new site, as though you were building it from scratch, you need to come in and understand all of your site structure. Take out a notebook, write it out so that you understand where everything's going to go. Copying text is a great lazy trick. Screen capping the site. You can go in to inspect the site and see the exact RGB values for colors. I got you, JIR. I'm going to look real quick in your Q&A. So carrying colors by way of copy and paste if you're vague about it, if you need to be exacting. Using the inspect feature to look at how colors are defined, fonts are defined, and where images are is a great trick. I'm going to go ahead and see what's in the Q&A. So JIR is saying many sites have many folders. Muse compiles HTML into, say, one images folder. What if I want a folder in images named icons? Is there a way to accomplish this in Muse? So there is not. If you are saying that when you build your site in Muse and you publish up to a third-party hosting platform or Adobe's hosting the content that is uploaded to the server, you want to control how it's structured, you can't do that. We do not allow you to control that there. Of course, you're welcome to set up a local folder with, let's say, icons, all of the icons in a folder, or a Creative Cloud library where you're organizing them into separate libraries. So the way that you organize it on your machine is up to you, but Muse does expect a certain structure, and when we publish to the web, we do push out in that structure. I think if you go ahead, if you want to see what that structure is about, if in Muse you come over to under Publish here, there's a drop down, and if you select, I may have hit Publish in a big way here. Let's do this. If under Publish you click on the right-hand side and you say Export as HTML, you can see by exporting to a folder exactly the structure that Muse is going to use when it uploads to a hosting platform, where it puts the manifest. That's what lets search engines know if you've updated your site. It lets us know if there's content that's different in the hosting platform than what's on your local machine. And there is an assets folder that we create. That's for things that are uploaded. It's not so much for images. So I guess I probably would need to know a little bit more about why you would be worried about having your images in a folder up in the hosting platform when the web just takes care of it and browsers know where to find those images because they're described in the HTML as being at that location. So I might need a little more information on that question. I'm going to go ahead and hit a hard stop here. We have a few opportunities. You're welcome to chime in to chat and let me know if there's a topic that we haven't done for a jam session lately that you'd like to see covered. I'm going to put up a poll to see how well this session met your expectations. I've done it from time to time. I've never really let you guys pick the site that I work on, but it was fine. I had a good time. Hopefully this helps. I know it's a big question. I honestly believe if you have a client and you need to rebuild a site in Muse, give yourself a few hours. You can build out that site in a really terrific way. And you're also building it the way you want it to be built. So you know that you're familiar with the site and can take it forward. Inheriting somebody else's code is not a beautiful thing either. So thank you for your time. If you have any other ideas for jams, let us know. You're welcome to send an email. Always send in your site of the days. We love to see the submissions that you deliver. And we will see you again here in 2 weeks at this time for the next Muse Jam session. So thanks you everyone for your time.